France, 1,764 acres. The mountain region of Jevodan was a quiet and remote place. Small villages, dense dark forests and narrow roads that were lost between the hills. People lived here simply. In the morning they grazed the cattle. In the evening we gathered by the fireplaces. But one summer everything changed. In June 1764, a shepherdess named Jean led her cattle through the forest. The sun was already setting, and the fog began to creep between the trees. Suddenly, the cows began to get nervous. They snorted. They stomped with hooves. Jean thought it was a wolf. But what came out of the forest was not a wolf. A creature slowly emerged from the bushes. It was huge, twice the size of an ordinary wolf. Her fur was dark red, almost black on her back. The muzzle is long, the teeth are unnaturally large. And the eyes were shining. Jean froze. The beast took a step, then another one. And then something strange happened. The cows rushed forward and surrounded the girl. They beat their hooves and roared. The beast stared for a few seconds. Then he turned around and disappeared in the forest. Jean ran to the village, pale as death. It wasn't a wolf, she repeated. But people didn't believe it. Until the day the first victim was found. A few days later, the shepherds found the girl's body in the field. She was only 14 years old. The body was mutilated as if it had been attacked by a large animal. But the hunters who examined the tracks said something strange. It's not a wolf. The tracks were too big. Much bigger. After that, new attacks began. Every week. Sometimes every day. People disappeared in the forest. The shepherds were found dead. Children were no longer allowed to graze their own cattle. And then they started talking about him. Beast from Gevodan. Witnesses describe him in different ways. Almost everyone said the same thing. It was too big for the wolf. His fur was reddish. The tail is long and thick. And the head. It looks like a hyena's head. But the most terrible thing was his eyes. They glowed in the dark. One evening, 3 children were grazing cows near the forest. They were no more than 10 years old. When the sun began to set, they heard the crunch of the branches. And then they saw him. He was standing on the edge of the field. Huge. Immovable. One of the boys shouted. The children began to flee. The beast rushed after them. He ran incredibly fast. But one of the guys suddenly stopped. He raised the stick and hit the beast. The other children also started screaming and hitting him. This forced the creature to retreat. This story quickly spread throughout France. Newspapers wrote about her. People began to be afraid to leave the house. The King of France, Louis XV. I heard about the beast. He ordered soldiers and hunters to be sent to Jevodan. Hundreds of people started hunting. They combed the forests. They set traps. But the beast seemed to disappear. And then appeared again. There were victims again. Once a group of hunters came across a huge wolf. They shot him after a long chase. When they measured the body, everyone was shocked. He was much bigger than any wolf. He was brought to the village. People celebrated. They thought the nightmare was over. But after a few weeks, there was a new victim. The beast is back. And he became even braver. He began to attack even near the villages. People saw it in broad daylight. And then new rumors began to appear. That it is not an animal. It's a demon. Or a werewolf. A hunter named Jean Chastel said something strange. You can't kill him with ordinary bullets. People laughed. But he continued. If it's really a demon, only silver will kill him. In 1767, the hunt lasted for 3 years. Hundreds of wolves were killed. But the attacks did not stop. And then one morning Jean Chastel went into the forest. He took the gun. And 2 silver balls. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Chastel stood on the clearing and began to pray. A few minutes passed. Then he heard footsteps. A creature came out of the forest. It was him. Beast. Huge. He looked at the hunter. And it didn't move. Chastel slowly raised the gun. And shot. The beast fell. When the people came to the clearing, they saw the body. It was huge. Much bigger than a wolf. His teeth were unnaturally long. And the paws are of a strange shape. People said, it's him. Beast from Jevodan. His body was taken to Paris. After that, the attack stopped. But the story didn't end there. Many years later, a hunter wrote a strange thing in his diary. When they opened the mouth of the beast, they found something strange. Metal plates, like part of the armor, as if someone made this creature. Some people think it was just a giant wolf. Others think it was a hyena brought from Africa. But there is another theory, that someone deliberately released this beast. He taught him to hunt people. But the worst thing happened in the 1970s. In the same region, 2 tourists were walking in the woods. It was already dark, and suddenly they heard a howl. Low, long. They thought it was a wolf. But then I saw the eyes. 2 yellow dots in the dark, huge, and too high above the ground. The tourists fled. They never went back to those forests. Locals say, sometimes you can hear footsteps in the forest at night. Heavy, slow, and when you look into the dark, you can see the eyes. Yellow, glow, and they look directly at you. Like a beast from Jevodan. He never really died.